Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, USA Global TV and Radio. Welcome and welcome back. For those of you that's joining the show for the first time, you are joining Talking Heads. And I am your expert presenter here, Mariska Duprier. And if you are back with us, welcome back. And I am looking forward to enjoying another topic around leadership with you today and exploring it a little bit more to see what it is that we can learn and how we can be even better leaders. So with all of that being said, I am sure that you guys would love to jump into this leadership topic because we do have a juicy one today, looking at coaching skills as a leader and what we can potentially expect, and also when is good times for us to use that, right? As you might think about any leadership type of skill, we do not use the same skill in all areas all the time. We use our skills a little bit like we would use tools in a toolbox. So if you think about a hammer, we are not using said hammer for everything. Sometimes we need a screwdriver, and sometimes we need different types of screwdrivers for different types of things. So our skills as leaders work pretty much the same way. And today we're going to explore when to use coaching, when's a good time for that to be used, and when do we rather want to use our managerial type of skills in those other areas. So let's jump into this. First off, we will look at our typical normal managerial skills. So when you think about your managerial skills, this will come to play in spaces like, for instance, when we have our milestones or deadlines that we are moving towards, setting those up and making sure that they are nice and challenging, yet achievable. That would be within the more managerial space. We will also look at the operational efficiency type of things within that space, as well as tasks. So when you think about deadlines and milestones, as a manager and leader, we need to make sure that we set them really clearly. So setting clear expectations around that, making sure that the team's very clear as to what it is that they're doing, who's doing what. So being able to get that clarity as well. And that will all fall within that more directed space where we need to give direction, right? So that is in that leadership managerial space. Then when we think about operational efficiencies, this is areas around resources, structures, policies, procedures, ensuring that those things are in place in order to help us build that container, those boundaries in which we will be working together as a team. Now, from a managerial perspective, a leader's perspective, that is things that we need to take into consideration, and coaching skills will not necessarily help us within that space. Our managerial skills will be the things that we need to focus on more in that area. And then, of course, we have normal day-to-day tasks, right? And when we think about tasks as a manager, of course, we can also think about how it is that we need to relay this specific thing that needs to be done to the specific individual or the team that need to do that. Are they proficient in doing it? Have they done this before? Have they never done this before? So depending on where they are sitting within that space, we might divvy up the task or present it in different ways. So if they've done this before, they're proficient in it, we'll just delegate. So there, off you go, you do it. I know you can do it. I don't have to worry about anything. You've done it 1,000 times. We know it's going to be sorted out. If it is a new employee, however, we might need to approach it in a bit of a different way. We might need to think about what is it that this person need? Do they need a little bit more structured guidance? Do we need to send them with somebody else so that they can learn from them in a certain way? And what it is that within that skill set is required for that specific person or potentially for that team. It might be a team that's new to that environment or that system or this new way of working. So when we think about managerial skills, we are using it when we are thinking about instructions or direction that we need to give as the leader. We think about it when we have any deadlines, so adherence to deadlines, as well as helping to set up deadlines that gives us that stretch ability for our team and making sure that we are actually hitting those marks that we want to hit as a business. And then, of course, resources and structure within that space, what it is that we need to help enable our team. So what resources do we need to think about and provide that would help enable our team do what it is that they need to do? And this also goes with the structure. So if you're thinking about policies and procedures. So this is managerial. When you are within the managerial space, there's a lot more around not only the strategic pieces of things, but really giving that direction. There's giving a lot more constructive things within that space that's helpful to empower our team. On the opposite side of this, we have coaching. So when you think about coaching and leadership in general, you can think of coaching as leading from behind. So the managerial things, the setting up certain processes and things, that would be more leading from the front. We are not only providing direction, we are also stepping into that direction. We are leading from the front. Leading from behind is where we enable and support our team in a different way. And we are really looking at growth. We are looking at employee growth. We might be looking at organizational growth and what the employees need to do in order to grow themselves, to grow the organization. So the main element when we think about coaching is growth and implementation of behaviors and skills. Now, when people think about coaching, they also think that, well, then we don't need training. Technically speaking, if we don't have the information, it is really difficult for us to then implement anything. So coaching is a supportive mechanism to help us to learn and to implement it for ourselves. So when you think about coaching as a leader, this will be a place where you have an employee that wants to develop a specific skill set, or you want your team to develop specific behaviors. This is really good for coaching, as well as any growth within your team or specific individuals that you have within that team. So growth-related type of conversations. So thinking about using coaching, right? We might have an individual that's new to the business or might be a recent grad, and they are working on a specific project. So there's some skill development that they are doing already because they are having some on-the-job experience and trying things out for themselves. And they might get frustrated with something, right? They're very motivated to get this project going. They really, really want to make a success of it, but they're getting frustrated. They don't know how to handle a specific thing, or potentially go and ask for something, or they're getting a lot of pushback. So in that case, a coaching conversation might be the thing that would be helpful for this employee, because for them to be empowered, right, us as the leader do not take the project or the problem from them. We want to make sure that they can handle it for themselves and that they can figure out what it is that they might need to do. So we might coach that employee through their thinking around what might be the most appropriate next step, or how to have that tricky conversation, or potentially how to say no to somebody because, well, we have a deadline on this specific thing. So that becomes a coaching conversation. We also can have coaching conversations when, as I mentioned, this person is having a challenge or they need to build confidence, right? So looking at what it is that's required to empower them to become more confident or to overcome that challenge. Now, if we give them the answer from what we would have done, similar to what mentoring would do, right? So in a mentoring conversation, we share from our experience. This is what I found. This is how it looked for me, to give them a couple of ideas. Wonderful. That might be required. From a coaching conversation, we are asking them questions to get to their own way of thinking and their own ideas of how they want to approach this and what's important to them. So the difference between the two, and I've seen quite a few people fall into that trap, is we think when we give advice or we help to give ideas to others, that would be helpful to them. And it was helpful to us at the time when we did it and learned from our own mistakes. The thing is, for this person, it may or may not be relevant. And they may or may not be able to utilize whatever it is that we gave them. Whereas if we were to use a coaching approach, we will ask them questions to help them think through it for themselves and come to a conclusion that would work for them. This may or may not look almost similar to what we did ourselves, right? But they came up with it and they're going to try it. So what you end up getting is you get a person that's a lot more engaged with the solution, because guess what? They created it themselves. And you also get a person that started to utilize that thinking process. So next time they get to something similar, they know how to figure it out for themselves. And this is what we want to do within the coaching space, is we want to help them, not necessarily so much with this is the problem and now I get a solution for it. It's more around the what type of thinking do I need to do, or how do I need to change my thinking in order to get to a solution, right? So there's a bit of a difference in how we approach this whole thing when we think about it in a coaching way. So we want to empower them to come up with the solutions for themselves, which means they need to go through a thinking process that they have discovered for themselves work. It does not necessarily help if we share our thinking process, because they do not have our vast amount of experience. And next time they come across the same thing, what's going to happen? They're going to come running to you and say, help, I don't know what to do. We don't want that. We want to empower them and help them so that they can do it themselves, hence the questioning. The other place is when we are building skills or behaviors. So if we want to change a behavior or build a skill set, a way of thinking for them, then questioning works really, really well. Now, when you think about coaching, and you can go back to one of my other talking heads, we delved into specific things within the coaching space that's very helpful for us as leaders. You will notice that questioning and listening, two of the top things that we need to do as leaders when it comes to coaching others, right? First off, very, very first thing is we need to learn to listen. Keep our own mouth shut, ask the question, and let the other person do the thinking. We do not ask questions that's closed, so that's a yes-no question. And the reason why we say they are closed questions is because the person do not elaborate, right? They can say yes or no, and that's it. So that's a very closed, short question. We want to use open questions. Open questions typically would start with what, where, when, how. Why I would normally try to not go into, except if you are doing a risk assessment when you do the 5 whys to get to the root cause analysis, because whys have us on defensive, especially in learning spaces. We want to be very, very careful with why questions. So open questions, the where questions or when questions or what questions, especially what questions. Really, really good questions to ask to help them get their thinking going. And again, you can go and have a look at one of my other talking heads where we explore questions and what different questions will do, so that you can get a better idea of how to ask good questions. So within the question space, we can help to change the behaviors that we might be seeing. Now, to give you an example of this, say, for instance, we have a team and we want them to take more accountability for deadlines, right? We have this team. We want them to take more accountability for deadlines. Now, one of the things that we identified around why they don't take accountability for deadlines. So we did a bit of a risk assessment ourselves and we went through the whys and we came to the conclusion that we have this team that don't take responsibility for deadlines because the deadlines are very murky. They are not clear. Okay, now we know we need more clarity on deadlines. We also know that we want them to commit to said deadline. So how do we do this? Well, we ask them, first off, what it is that they think the deadline should be, right? So give me an idea of what your time frame is. And they say 2 weeks. Okay, in 2 weeks for this deadline, what will I step away with? What am I going to get? Right? Get clarity on that deadline's outcome. Because if I ask them what is finished going to look like, then they need to start to think about what does finished look like. What will I get at the end of it? Will I have, for instance, I'm using something that's very tangible, like fixing a pump or replacing a pump in a specific spot, right? Will finish look like the pump is replaced? Will finish look like the pump is replaced and commissioned, so it's running, it's doing all the things that it can do, and it is back in the system? Is that finished? Or does finish look like I have the new pump and it is in the spot where it needs to be, but not running yet? So what exactly does finished look like? What's my definition of it? When I ask my team or my employee to be more clear around what that looks like, we can start to have that conversation. So my expectation might be finished is it is running and I don't have to worry about it. Operations has it back with them. My employee's idea of finished might be that the pump is on the plant, it is installed, but it's not commissioned yet, right? So they think about it as finished as it is in the plant. It is vastly different expectations there. So if we do not discuss this, what's going to happen is I'm going to be very upset because my employee is going to come back and say, yep, I'm finished. And then I will phone operating and I will say, hey, ops, my employees say the pump is finished. And they will tell me, no, it's not, because I still can't run the plant. So then I'll be upset with my employee because we didn't have that conversation. So understanding that I can ask them questions, and this is part of the coaching, right? Until I get to the spot where we have now gotten an agreement. That's part of helping to learn them around skill building as well as behavior. So I'm changing a behavior to help expectation setting in a more collaborative way where we can have a generative discussion. So it helps us to do that in a better way. And understanding that that is what I am doing, right? I can also explicitly express that with my employee. So now you start to see how coaching skills, I can use them. I use deadlines, right, within the coaching skill space, because I might have deadlines that I have set as my managerial function, and some of the things that I'm going through with my employee to help them to grow and to feel empowered might require coaching. So it starts to overlap. So in no time during any tool using activity, right, do we only use the hammer for everything or only the screwdriver for everything. We might use them interchangeably every now and again in different ways. And I know that some people, do have a tendency to use hammers for everything or screwdrivers for everything, which will or will not be as effective. So understanding what it is, your intention, the intentionality that you have, and what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then going from there. So using coaching skills, we can use them in a wide variety of different places. Generally, whenever we are wanting to grow or empower our employees, best place for you using it. If, however, we are trying to get them to get to the answer that we are looking for, right, or them to set the direction that actually we needed to set, coaching is not going to help you. Because what's going to happen is you might be asking them questions which will get you very frustrated because they never come up with the answer that you actually look for, because they're not seeing the same direction as you might be seeing. So you can see how if we utilize one of these in the wrong place for a hammer when we need the screwdriver, or a screwdriver when we need the hammer, it will be very frustrating for us as well as for them. So understanding how to utilize our coaching skills are very, very good way to go about it. And now you have a little bit more clarity on when to use coaching and when to manage and give that instructions or direction as required. And with that, that brings us to the end of our show today. Of course, if you are trying to get hold of me or you want to discuss any of our leadership-related topics or tips or tricks, or you might need some guidance or assistance in your own space, you can get hold of me via my email, which is Mariska, Mariska, at journey2discover.com. Or alternatively, you can also find me on my website, journey2discover.com, or on LinkedIn, where you can send me a direct message and we can start our conversation. And with that, we will now go to our sponsors, and I look forward to seeing you guys in our next episode. Bye for now.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she's not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.